What's up, guys? Let's check out the dope game, Misadventures of Fat Cat and Pappy Mason by Self Fernetti. Go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to Charles on there as well. Appreciate it, guys.
Chapter 5 The Man. Fat Cat and the Crack Wars. Brash young dealers muzzled a drug establishment. New York Magazine. Even after the parole violation that sent him to prison and the incarceration of his enforcer, Pappy Mason, Cat ran his organization on the streets and wielded tremendous influence. Cat had the utmost respect from major dudes that would move out for him in a second, BC says. His name was ringing all over the city. His influence was so strong, the homie kept it popping without question. His trusted people were Mike Bones, the Furtado brothers, and others. They moved with him while he was on the inside. Cat's control, even from his prison cell, was absolute. Fat Cat was a drug dealer, gangster, ghetto entrepreneur. He was the biggest name in his time in the 80s, Curtis Goon said. He owned delis, laundromats, home improvement companies. He had property in New York, Virginia, and Alabama. He liked to live the best he could. Swimming pools in every house. His family enjoyed the fruits of his labor. Cat made sure of that. Cat reaped the rewards of the dope game, even when he was in prison. His stature as a moneymaker never changed. While he was away, his organization's reputation for violence grew. I kept the peace when I was on the streets, but with me gone, they had to show everyone that they could answer the call, Cat said. With the cat away, mice would play. When you're running $1 million organization and you're not there, you have other people that want to think for you, Luxpoon said. When you're there, you got different people thinking different things. You can't control that because it's just too many people. You may control your inner circle and so on. It's just too many people that's left to do what they feel they want to do. But it's all in business. If you're the leader, you're going to get the blame no matter what. When shit happens, Cat's going to get the blame.
Nobody call him Fat Cat.
Cat loved the power he had, although he probably regretted the consequences that responsibility incurred. Because when it all crumbled, the authorities held Cat responsible. That was the price he would pay for wearing the crown. A fair trade-off at the time. As a king of the drug thugs, his influence was tremendous, and given the fact that he was in jail, it was remarkable that he kept the reins of power. Cat was not only running his own crew, he was at the top of the pyramid over other crews too. The informant confirmed this with the police. He stated that the Nichols family is at the top of the drug trade. He believed Fat Cat's mother and his sister are running the drug operation while Cat was in jail.
Wow. The mom and the mom.
Cat's sister definitely supplies drugs and is always accompanied by an unknown male Oriental, the narcotics cop said. The following families are supplied by the Nichols family: Early Trip, Abdullah, Mustafa, Bebo's, and the Supreme Team. Skinner is on a level just under Fat Cat and operates independent of Fat Cat. Early Trip operates in the area of 150th
I missed where they at. I want to find out how did he get the name Fat Cat.
Street and 107th Avenue. Candu, Stanley, and Boone work for Earl. Abdullah, a.k.a. Unc, sells from the game room in 106th and 56th and 150th Street. Fats and Man work for him. Mustafa's crew is run by Bugout and Salem. C, Hines, and Unique work their territory on Inwood Streets. The Bebos are Pappy's crew. They're run by Marshall. That's Pappy's boy. He's like the sheriff out there. I seen him with Divine, Scott, and Shaka. Called themselves the Bebos. All these crews were under Cat, according to the informant. His presence in my hood was monstrous without question, BC says. A lot of people speak about Preem and Prince, but you rarely heard about them in the hood. Everything was Cat. And it just wasn't on my block, Lakewood and Inwood, but it expanded from the block 150th and 107th through Sutton and Rockaway, from 127th and 111th Avenue to Linden and the Van Wyck, from Rockaway to the Van Wyck, to Liberty and Sutton and everything in between, Inwood and South Road to 111th Avenue and 160th. Even in prison, the Cat was a major player, but crack would change all that. At the height of New York's crack era, Fat Cat reached Son of Sam status, dominating headlines and becoming the stuff of local lore. Despite being incarcerated throughout much of his reign, Fat Cat, with the acumen of a business maverick and the command of an ancient warlord, ruled what was the largest street-level drug ring in the Big Apple.
Give me a Ferrari.
But post-crack, it would be a different story. In the mid-'80s, the crack vial spawned violence and bloodshed, paper chasers and four-corner hustlers, drug empires and kingpins galore.
Mm.
The drug's climax would prove earth-shattering. Crack changed Queens. It changed the way the dope game was played. Prior to the explosion, Queens had known violence, but not to the degree it would. Crack was a game changer. Crack comes out full scale. It came out a little bit right before we came in, but by the time, says 90 days after, it was rapid.
My brother's on crack.
Like once they closed 150th Street after our arrest, now you got off shots shooting up all over the place. And it's not
He was
or
off subject. My brother was on crack. I always wanted to ask him before he passed away, what made you want to do crack? But I never really wanted. I don't know. He was. It was weird because we knew he had a drug addiction, but we never really talked about it. It was crazy in the '80s.
organized. It's just niggas doing their thing. They just out there now. Every corner is like a drug area with a lot of money floating around. Because you had like a million or two coming through the area, Luxpoon said. One afternoon in November 1985, Fat Cat was sitting in the prison day room and called his sister Viola. Hey, busy, she said. That new stuff? People is wild for it. Cat didn't know what she was talking about. What stuff is that? He asked. The stuff they be calling crack. It comes in a
Oh, well,
vial.
he was selling
And the
cocaine.
homeboys is going crazy for it, Viola answered. Crack was about to put New York in a chokehold, UFC style. When crack first hit, it was crazy bananas, Shaka said. But when crack hit the scene, all these broke-ass motherfuckers started getting rich. Crack is a poor man's drug.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like heroin. I've seen mothers literally selling their baby's soul for a hit off the pipe.
Wow,
The invention of crack was a curse and a gift to the game.
that's crazy.
At first, Cat didn't want to get into crack. He was already making crazy money. Biz never wanted to sell crack, D says. He thought it brought too much heat to the business. Fat Cat's Lieutenant Mike Bones agreed with his boss's assessment. We didn't need crack money, Mike Bones said. We was making crack money way before there was ever crack. Some weeks, we even had $1 million in cash. Crack was a godsend for the low-level, hand-to-hand dealers grinding on the block. Suddenly, an individual hustler could pull in thousands of dollars a day. If he was willing to grind, the money was there. Newcomers could share in a business that had long been inaccessible,
Right.
thanks to the monopolistic policies of established crews like Fat Cat and the Supreme Team. There was a time when you wanted to be involved in crime, you were selected by older guys, Curtis Coon said. With crack, it just put everybody out there.
Anyway, y'all, that is the dope game, Misadventures of Fat Cat and Pappy Mason. Yeah, man, crack. I can remember as a kid when crack. I was a little kid when crack came out, like in the '80s. I can remember seeing crackheads walking down the street, looking like zombies, real skinny. You could just always tell a crackhead. And I remember you used to never really see those when I was a little kid. I can vaguely remember anybody being on crack. I can remember crack hitting like in the late '80s, early '90s, really bad. Then my brother came home, and then he got on it. I always wanted to ask him what made him want to do crack of all things. Anyway, what do y'all think about this story, man? Y'all want to check it out? It is on Audible. It's called The Dope Game: The Misadventures of Fat Cat and Pappy Mason. You would think, I always wondered about drug dealers. Like, you would think you got all this money coming in and you got enough money where you can possibly go legit and start a business. I mean, they said he had several businesses, a deli and all kind of stuff. Wonder why he ain't just quit. You always wonder, like, why don't they just quit and just run the businesses that they made from the dope game, so that way you ain't got to be in the dope game. And it's weird to me. What do y'all think? Leave in the comments and subscribe to Charles in His World. Take care.